Please welcome, from parts unknown but making his home in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, weighing in at 749 pounds, he is the fantasy football guru of another fucking podcast, the Great Bobboo, Bauer!
Break it down! Degenerate into something fool. We just got tired of doing what you told us to do. That's a brace, boy. Yeah, that's a brace, little man. Break it down!
All right, folks, and we all know what that music means. He was off for a week, but now he has returned. He is huge in Sheboygan, also like this show is, so I think he needs a t-shirt. He is the fantasy football guru for this show, and you can follow him on Twitter at I can't even talk, at jbauer36. Find him on Facebook as the Great Bobboo. He is the Great Bobboo, Mr. Jeff Bauer. Good afternoon, sir.
It's great to be back on the show. It's here in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Everybody's excited. The Packers won the Super Bowl last week. People are going fucking nuts. You know, I've never had a Super Bowl happen in week 4, but apparently the Packer fans have pretty much fucking mailed it in.
Well,
you know, they can't be beat. This is you know, just the best thing ever. Aaron Rodgers is going to go down as maybe. You know, let's stop talking about MVP here. I think he might win the Nobel Peace Prize this year.
well,
I mean, that's just the type of numbers that he's putting up. You know.
Well, I know your Packer Rube comment last week was, I believe it was, he is the greatest athlete in the history of sport. I believe is what the guy was saying.
It's getting worse and worse after the San Francisco game, which. Their offense didn't exactly light the world on fire. 17 points isn't something normally that people rate home about, you know?
Right.
And the thing that I think is funny is I'm going to get on my little soapbox here, but at the end of the game, Colin Kaepernick was running and he got tackled by Clay Matthews, and Clay Matthews loud told Colin Kaepernick, he goes, "You ain't Russell Wilson, bro."
That's not a lot to brag about.
It's not, because Russell Wilson is not good, but here's my deal. And, you know, I'm going to do a shout out to Jason Schindler on here because he posts a stupid fucking Packer post on Facebook all the time. And he posted this post the other day, like, you know, it showed Kaepernick, you know, like, and Aaron Rodgers said, oh, what's that, 4-0 or whatever?
Right.
Colin Kaepernick destroyed the Packers in 2 playoff games.
He did.
I mean, absolutely destroyed him. He set the rushing record for a quarterback. I think he had 180 yards rushing the last time the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl. And it's funny how Packer fans will always throw in my face. They know I'm a Vikings fan. They have so many championships I've won. Now, when I do that with Aaron Rodgers, they get very upset because although Rodgers has won a championship, his playoff record is not good.
No, it's really not.
And, you know, people start, you know, because when you get the Brady comparisons and the best ever comparisons, I will admit that he has the most physical tools I've seen from a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of speed, being able to elude the rush, you know, strength, his arm strength, be able to read defenses. He has that all. But ultimately, the same people who bitch at Peyton Manning for having won the Super Bowl championship are the same people who say Rodgers is the greatest ever. So you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
You know, you have to be judged by the same things. And my whole thing is like you got to play out the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But with watching the Packers the last couple of weeks, offensively, yes, they're putting up a lot of numbers, but they're not playing anybody.
True.
The week before, they played a Kansas City team that had no starting defensive backs in the game.
Wow.
So it was really if you watch Aaron Rodgers threw for 5 touchdowns, if you did all those, like Pro Football Focus actually gave him a negative grade that game.
Wow.
Because he said all the throws he were making were essentially screen passes where Randall Cobb was doing all the work.
Uh-huh.
You know, and So it's kind of one of those things where, they look great. They're starting off the year. They look wonderful. They haven't played really. They played Seattle without Cam Chancellor. They played the Chicago Bears the first week, and it was a tough game for them. The Chicago Bears might be the worst team in the league.
It's true.
And they played a Kansas City Chiefs team, which we saw them, get annihilated in Cincinnati. And, it's one of those things where it's too early to tell. 4 weeks in, people are – I mean, you look at after week one, Vikings fans are ready to cash in the season already.
Yep.
The Vikings played a very, very, very good Denver team and played them very well.
They did.
I was very impressed with Bridgewater. Their offensive line is horrible, the Vikings.
Right. That's what lost that. I mean, if you look at it, that's what lost the Vikings the game, was the offensive line.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware were in the backfield like the whole game.
Right.
But Denver has, I would say, probably top 2 or 3 defense in the league right now. They have stars and all pros littered throughout that defense, and that's going to be what carries them. They're not going to be an easy out for anyone. I don't care how old decrepit Manning is and how bad their running game is. If they can put up 20 points a game, they're probably going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's Packer fans, it's kind of funny because, you live here and you see it worse. And but it's really gotten to be kind of, it's the typical fandom.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be beat to, I don't believe we lost that game.
Right.
Because, Aaron Rodgers does choke in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the NFC this year, it's ripe for the picking. Is there any team in the NFC, like, if you watched Seattle play last night against the Detroit Lions in a game they should have fucking lost?
Yep.
And I don't know if you watched any of the game or heard any of the game, but the referees blew a call in the last play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what happened is Kelvin Johnson fumbled it. Cam Chancellor hit him and caused the fumble.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the Seattle guys in the end zone hit the ball intentionally and knocked it out of bounds so nobody could touch it.
Mm-hmm.
That's against the rules. You can't do that.
Right.
And it was blatant. It was right in front of the referee. The referee didn't call it. My whole thing is the game was in Seattle. It was on national television. Detroit gets holes on all these calls. I mean, you look at the Dallas game last year, and it's one of those things where it's just like the referee has to make that call.
Right.
And even the Dean Blandino, the executive for the NFL officiating, came out and said, hey, we made the wrong call. Well, it's just like with instant replay and this shit, that shit shouldn't happen.
Right. Especially at that point of the game.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I felt bad for Lions fans. I had to give a shout out to Jeff Charles this morning and say, hey, you guys should have won that game.
Right.
But
before we move forward, our buddy Aiden, we chatted about a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I can't wait to.
Always said we talked about the Vikings and the Packers.
Right. And he was saying it tongue in cheek. He was mostly just, I can't wait to hear about the Vikings is what he said. Tongue in cheek. I chatted with him a little bit, and he lives in Australia. And I'm going to give you a wild guess on what his NFL team is.
Dallas Cowboys.
No, it's the Packers.
Oh, God.
It's the Packers.
Why? Did he give you a reason why?
No. I guess I didn't ask. But Aiden, hit me back up. Tell us, what is it about the Packers? Or did you live in Wisconsin at some point? Or did somebody send you a cheesehead and you got infested? Just let us know. And our good buddy Stevie Rochelle, keeps saying, hope you're ready to wear those Packer colors, which I'm not looking forward to. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Vikings can pull at least one win out.
Hey, it's I don't know. I don't have the NFL schedule sitting right in front of me, but the Vikings defense has been very good this year.
It's been great.
And they put a lot of heat on Manning. They didn't allow much from Denver. And Green Bay's offensive line is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why you're seeing Rodgers move around so much in the pocket is because he doesn't have time. And what people are going to start to see when you start playing these good teams and it starts getting into the playoffs, James Jones and Jared Emerdarius and all these fucking hacks that the Green Bay Packers have on their offense aren't going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Randall Cobb is an excellent receiver. He's probably one of the top 5 receivers in the league in terms of skill. He's a great slot receiver. So, he's there. But I just, like I said, if I was, Green Bay Packer fans, because ultimately what are they looking at doing, winning the Super Bowl? I'm a little bit worried. I'm worried about a team like the Arizona Cardinals. I'm even worried about a team like the St. Louis Rams this week, who have probably the best front four in football going against that weak Packers offensive line. And St. Louis is one of those teams that is going to bludgeon you.
Right.
You might win the game, but you're going to come out of it rough. Green Bay does not do good against physical football teams. They never have. You look at those teams that Harbaugh coached in San Francisco, which the Packers could not beat. Very physical football teams. You look at the Giants, who they could never beat in the playoffs. Very physical football teams. St. Louis is kind of in the same realm of things. And Green Bay is playing with fire because Rodgers is their team.
Right.
And he is taking a lot of hits this year.
Now, what is the status of Eddie Lacy?
He's played the last couple of weeks.
Oh, he has.
His ankle is still bothering him a little bit, but him and Starks, really even Lacy when he's healthy, he's the bell cow back in terms of he's on the field for all 3 downs, but he gets replaced a lot by by Starks because Lacy is a big fat guy. He does get winded fairly easily, and he plays a very physical style of football.
Right.
But Lacy's a guy that they're going to lean on towards the end of the year when it starts getting colder. Because they are in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and it does get cold there. So the passing the ball all the time, it's just kind of one of those things. But I think we're safe to assume that all these offensive coordinators who people say were so good in the Green Bay Packers system, and they go and get head coaching jobs and get fired within a year or two, it's safe to say that Aaron Rodgers is probably better than what the coaching staff is.
Right.
It's maybe more him than it is their coaching staff. But I like getting into with Packer fans. I don't know what their deal is, but they seem to be very animated about it because Packer fans like to say that they're the best fans.
Right.
They don't want to say that they're just a fan of a team. They want to say we have the best fans.
Right. Oh, because
they can't say we like the Packers and stuff like that.
But we own stock in our team. No, you don't.
Well, that's the funniest thing was, Mike and Mike. I caught this one morning before I went to work. Mike and Mike were in Lambeau when they had the Monday night game in Kansas City. And there was this guy there that had a Bart Starr uniform on. He was wearing like a cheesehead helmet. He was all painted green and yellow. And he had, team owner, like tattooed on him.
Oh, my God.
Not like written on. Like, it was a legit tattoo. And, I had a laugh. And I don't know, I kind of told you this on Twitter, if people want an entertaining podcast, I think it might go downhill soon, but Bill Simmons from ESPN, not on ESPN anymore, just basically go lights into ESPN for like 15, 20 minutes in this podcast with Cousin Sal from Kimmel.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to listen to that.
And he talks about how, like the interview Roger Goodell did was for Mike and Mike. And then Cousin Sal's like, oh, that must have been a really hard-hitting interview. And then Bill Simmons goes, yeah, it's like, it was kind of distracting watching Mike and Mike give Roger Goodell a lap dance for an hour.
Right.
Because that's basically what it was. And that's what ESPN has really turned into, is that they're just another marketing arm. And I am so, me, I love fantasy football, right? I am so fucking sick of DraftKings and FanDuel.
Oh, my God.
And their ads and shit. And then they're going to get in big trouble. I'm going to tell you this right now. I would be surprised. I think DraftKings will stand the test of time. Do you know who owns the majority of DraftKings? ESPN.
Really?
Yeah, in the off season, because there used to be about 6 or 7 of these daily fantasy sites. DraftKings went and bought, the only other one is FanDuel, basically.
Right.
DraftKings went and brought the other ones, and ABC Entertainment, which is owned by Disney, which owns ESPN, bought $200 million worth of shares in the company.
Wow.
So the fact that if you ever watch ESPN or any of these shows now, anything, it's just like, this is brought to you by DraftKings. This is, and the funny thing is they're starting to learn, like a story came out this week, how there's a lot of insider trading going on at these companies.
Yeah, I saw something about
where
that.
These guys get information that the average person does not get. And like the guy from Deadspin, his name's Drew Magery. He's a really funny writer, but he did a piece on how it's all like he did a piece on DraftKings on how it's all these professional gamblers who are winning this. It's not people who know football.
Right.
Because there's algorithms, there's rhythms to this and that type of thing. So it's kind of fucked up, but we won't get into that. We'll get into the good thing of fantasy football. It's last week was an interesting week. In our podcast league, I had a bye week.
Oh.
Which was weird. I played you.
Jesus Christ. There she goes. There she goes. That's right. We did play each other. Yeah. And I had what happened with Andrew Luck?
Well, you posted my weekly picks on there. I said
I didn't read
Andrew Luck is not going to be playing. And when you shared that, I'm like, oh, he must have read that Andrew Luck isn't playing. He's going to switch him out. And then I end up was out the night before, long story short. But in a couple of my leagues, I'm like, oh, shit, did I put the right lineup in? And all of a sudden I checked their score, and I'm like, oh, fuck, he kept Luck in there. I mean, not that Teddy Bridgewater put up a shitload of points anyway.
Right.
That wasn't what caused you to win, but I just had to give you a hard time.
Of course.
A lot of people ask me, like, who are good people to pick up? And we're now going into week 5. And a lot of the running backs that are going to be, your good running backs, we kind of know who they are going to be now. And we know who the shitty guys are going to be.
Right.
It's not like the first couple of weeks where you go, oh, you need to pick up this guy or you need to pick up that guy. But there are a couple of people out there that people may not have that are worth picking up. The first one is Ronnie Hillman from Denver. I've been down on C.J. Anderson all year, as you've known. He is basically non-existent in their offense. Ronnie Hillman, I think, is going to be the go-to guy going forward unless he gets hurt or fumbles a bunch. He's definitely worth picking up, especially if you have C.J. Anderson on your team. The other guy, and I mentioned him a couple weeks ago, is Leonard Hankerson. He is the second receiver in Atlanta that is a high-powered offense with Julio Jones. He's going to face single coverage in most every game that he's in because Julio's going to get double-teamed. In that Kyle Shanahan offense that Atlanta runs, he's going to be seeing the ball a lot. Roddy White is basically non-existent in that offense. He's basically blocking the majority of the time, and that's why he's getting so pissed off. But it's just kind of one of those things where, those are a couple guys out there. Like I said, if you've been listening to the podcast, last time I was on, who did I tell you to pick up?
I don't remember.
The second most important ginger next to Izzy Presley and Andy Dalton. And Andy Dalton is just the top scoring quarterback in fantasy right now.
Right.
Cincinnati's putting up a boatload of points. This week, just kind of going through the teams, I'm going to give you, I like any Kansas City Chief this week. If you have a Kansas City Chief on your team, play them. Their offense is starting to open up a little bit. Alex Smith might actually throw for a passing touchdown to a wide receiver this week.
Nice.
They play the Bears, and the Bears' defense is horrible. They're kind of doing a fire sale. The Bears are even talking about trading Matt Forte.
Wow.
Which, is very interesting. I would not be surprised, dude, and that if a team like New England or something like that didn't get their hands on Matt Forte.
Well, and New England's always been that team where they haven't really had a feature runner. It's always been runner by committee, pretty much.
No, but Forte is a free agent after this year. So, and he's also a guy with he gets a lot of carries, he gets a lot of touches, and he's great in the passing game. So
Perfect.
In the New England system, he would be perfect for it.
Right, he would.
And New England is also a very good blocking team, where Chicago is not. So it really comes down to, like what they want to give for a guy that's basically going to be rental for a year. The Patriots, I think, are going to go after 16-0 this year. like they did the year they lost to the Giants. I think they're on a mission. They want Roger Goodell handing them that Super Bowl trophy this year.
I want to see it.
And I mean, this is like, you have some dreams in the world, and this isn't as big as me winning the Powerball or anything like that. But to live in Wisconsin, to have the Packers have a great season and play the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
And lose.
And to lose the Patriots, all the cheating, all this stuff going on about Brady, these people would lose their fucking shit.
Yeah, they would.
It would be like the ode to like a perfect season. But in terms of other players I would play this week, Devonta Freeman, you've seen from Atlanta, has gone off. If you were lucky enough to get him in the 20th round of your draft or whenever you took him, he is saving your ass right now. And this is like I told people at the beginning of the year. Running backs are so hard to predict.
Yep.
Like these people who take their running backs, other than Adrian Peterson, Eddie Lacy really hasn't even done much this year so far. So when you look at these players and people go, it's one of those things where I'm going to pick this running back and I'm going to be able to go with this running back. It's just like I compiled some rankings for this week, and it's weird. Like it's top 10 running backs, just to kind of give you an idea of where people are kind of like, I never would have thought that. Jamal Charles, Le'Veon Bell, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Devonta Freeman, no. Arian Foster, people didn't even think he'd be back by now. You got Matt Forte, DeMarco Murray, Eddie Lacy, Carlos Williams, Dion Lewis, TJ Yeldon. I mean, there's a lot of guys in here that people aren't really familiar with, whereas the wide receivers is going to be pretty much, the go-to guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they
far,
and they can find your rankings on the Facebook page.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm going to be starting doing some more update rankings along with the picks that I do.
Cool.
Each week, because people have questions about who to play each week. What they should kind of do from week to week, and like I said, I'm definitely like I said, I like to be able to help people. I've so far in the two main leagues that I'm in this year, I have one loss.
All right. Oh, there you go.
It was a very bad week I had in the podcast league, but I get Gronk back this week, so that makes me happy. He's always gonna put up some major points for you. But yeah, it's I would definitely Arian Foster's another guy. Like he might be stashing away in a lot of people's teams, but he is playing now. He played last week. He'll play this week. Going forward. And this is another guy I'm high on this week, and people are going to laugh at me when I say this. It's DeMarco Murray from Philadelphia. I think this is the week he goes off. They play New Orleans, who has a horrible defense. He had one big run last week. I think that kind of spurred some confidence in him. And so I definitely would do that. Hey, I got a question for you. Ryan Tannehill, quarterback from Miami?
Yes.
Have you heard the story about him in the practice squad?
No, I have not.
Well, apparently the coach of the Dolphins before he got fired would tell the practice squad guys to go easy on Ryan Tannehill to get his confidence up, because they kept on intercepting him in practice. And they were intercepting him the week when they went to London. Like this one practice squad player intercepted him like 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the practice, Tannehill walks up to him and says, real nice, I wish I was on the practice squad making $100,000 a year. He's like, have fun living your crappy life. Just went off on this practice squad guy at practice,
Uh-huh.
And so people talked about, if that's true, that's a pretty shitty thing, to make fun of someone about the money they make and stuff like that, Well, this became like kind of big news on ESPN the last couple of days. And Dante Stallworth, who used to be a wide receiver in the league, he played for the Patriots. Tom Brady, when they went against the practice squad, if practice squad guys intercepted him, he gave them money.
Wow.
He said sometimes it was up to $1,000 because he felt like that made them work harder and make them better players, and it made him better.
Oh, absolutely.
If you got practice squad guys that are just fluffing off in practice, he's not learning anything. He's not doing anything. So
Right.
I mean, it's just kind of crazy. It's just kind of one of those things, But
all right, we got we got like 30 seconds left here. Did you give your Packer fan Rube of the Week statement?
Well, there were so many after the 49er game, and a lot of it were comments about the Clay Matthews situation, the Colin Kaepernick thing, and I kind of talked about that a little bit. But it'll be interesting. The St. Louis game coming up for Green Bay, I'm not going to say St. Louis is going to win. This is not going to be an easy game for the Packers, and it's one of those things where the Packers just can't seem to get healthy. Their defense is much improved this year, and I give them credit for that. But I see this as being a trap game for them, as it's extremely tough. It sucks. The Vikings are in a bye week. It's week 5, and they already got a bye week.
Right.
And bye week shouldn't start till like week 8 or 9, in my opinion.
Right.
Because you're not even beat up for the year or anything like that.
Right. Absolutely.
In terms of resting your injuries and stuff like that, But I think it's safe to say, and your Australian friend here, Adrian Peterson is back.
Yeah, he is, as long as they feed him the ball.
I mean, it's and that was very encouraging to see from a Viking standpoint, and it was encouraging to see Bridgewater. I got to give the guy credit. I'll talk about him real quick, but he was under duress that whole game, and he was poised.
Yeah, he was.
He doesn't look like he does. He does remind me of Arnold from Different Strokes, but he does look calm back there, which most quarterbacks, even some of these guys who've been in the league 4 or 5 years, they're all frazzled. Like they're trying to look for the quick dump off and stuff like that. And he had a couple of really nice plays to Wallace when Von Miller and Ware were all over him. And you're starting to see that combination come through a little bit more, Mike Wallace and Bridgewater.
Right, absolutely.
And I think that will help down the road. So
definitely need that. It is the Great Bobboo. Make sure you hit him up on Facebook, facebook.com/ is it I'm not even sure what the address is. Just look up the Great Bobboo, BOBBOO. Hit like, follow that page, hit him up on his regular Facebook page, Jeff Bauer, and then hit him up on the Twitter machine at JBauer36. Coming up right after this, the second half of the Drunken Summit, known as the Drunken Summit. Alex Kane from Life, Sex, and Death, and the Richie Ramone Band, and Ace Von Johnson from Faster Pussycat. It's another fucking podcast.